The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M. Welcome to the Lake Forest Podcast, your virtual public house where I, Pete Jansons, and Joe Weiss are your virtual bartenders, ready to serve up the latest buzz around town. Pull up a stool and join the conversation at our bar where everyone is welcome to share their thoughts and stories. Here at our podcast, we chat about the happenings and hearsay of Lake Forest, just like old friends catching up over a drink. Our discussions are intended to entertain and inform, providing a place for community voices to be heard and diverse opinions to be shared. Please remember, while we aim to have engaging, thought-provoking content, not everything you hear may be the final word. We're here to discuss and debate, just like any lively bar chat. We value all perspectives, even those that challenge our own, as part of the rich dialogue that keeps our community vibrant. So grab your favorite beverage, join the dialogue, and let's enjoy a good conversation together. Don't forget, we're here for community spirit and shared insights, not courtroom disputes. Cheer to good talks and great company. Joe, your thoughts?
Did Rick Lesser write that for you, or some other lawyer?
Yeah, George Michael.
Let me grab my drink here. Hold on. I put it on the other side of the table. And look what I'm using today, the Lake Forest Scout thermos, or whatever you call this.
Of which that logo is supposedly never going to go away. That means it's going away.
Out of my cold dead hand.
Okay. So we've had a day or so to, kind of digest the
indigest. Give me a lot of indigestion.
The regurgitation of I don't want to say liberal tears, but like activist tears. What do you call those people?
Both. I mean, to me, the low point of the meeting was the one participant who compared the caucus to Vladimir Putin.
Every citizen in Lake Forest is supposed to be a member of the caucus, or every voter in Lake Forest. Since I don't want to be party to an organization that is basically following Putin's rules of order, how do I get out of becoming a member of the caucus? I don't know.
Yeah, Ed, to his previous question,
And I'm sure that's...
And I get that you get random people in the audience making comments, but if I was running that meeting, I would have stopped right there and said, look, we have strong disagreements with the caucus, but we are not going to compare. I mean, Vladimir Putin has murdered thousands, maybe millions of people, invaded a country, you know, killed innocent. Come on. You take your political differences with the caucus and compare that to Vladimir Putin? Come on.
Do you think they would have been better off not doing that meeting? Or it was just an echo?
Well, I think it was there. It was exactly, you just took my two words, echo chamber. That's okay. Exactly. They took that John and Nancy Hughes Theater and made it into one big or one small, depending on how you look at it, echo chamber. And, you know, they only, all their political success comes in that building, Gorton Center.
Yeah.
They have never won anything outside of Gorton Center. When you think about it.
I mean, I'm trying
the city doesn't own Gorton Center. Lake Forest for Transparency owns Gorton Center. I mean,
and hey, before we go on, hey, I want to apologize to whoever the janitor was or whoever was trying to kick us out of the one room. Sorry, you know, mea culpa.
Yeah, they wanted to go home. So,
well, we asked if we could go in there, and they said yes.
And
they said no. I think Putin came over and kicked us out.
Oh, no, don't go there.
Okay. So, but it seemed like kind of desperate.
Yeah, I mean, you had all sorts of crazy. I mean, people were bringing up the McDonald's and the Burger King that used to be in Lake Forest. I mean, how many years ago was that? So you got all these people with axes to grind about, you know, most of it centered around development issues. Clearly, block the box, and all that stuff is all they got. All right. So you have all the people, and this is a classic thing when you're running against the incumbents in municipal government. You find the people in each neighborhood that are upset about some zoning issue or something, and you try to get that together to get a majority. So it was, you know, they had this lawyer they had Bernie Sanders' lawyer there.
Eddie Mullen.
Bernie Bro,
but
who also is Eric Wright. I mean, he's a Democratic Party lawyer. He said it right in his introduction. I mean, I didn't even need to Google anything before I wrote my op-ed in the patch. He introduced himself as the attorney for various Lake County Democrats, including Eric Reinhardt, soft on crime Reinhardt. So I'm not surprised. You know, and he got into legal mechanics of stuff and all that.
Of what?
Like, you were falling asleep, and I was like, so everything he said from an election law standpoint is technically correct about the different options. You can basically, they want to have a primary. I think they want, or some people in the audience said, can we do a primary against the caucus in a primary, like a, you know, all that's going to do is cost the taxpayers even more money, because then you have to have an election in February and then an election in April. I've seen that in some other cities that do that. I think Waukegan has primaries. So that, you know, so I think everybody's they're just frustrated because they're on the outside looking in. And in the case of people like Melanie Rummel and Prue Beidler, they were on the inside.
Yeah.
And now they're on the outside.
Crying. Was Prue crying?
I think it comes down to, in the end, trust. For years, the caucus got used to being trusted. They sort of took that for granted, and if you didn't always trust them, you were an outlier. The fact that I ever had the umbrage to ask questions made me, you know, that was something that I was very much encouraged never to do again, and I was offended by that. Did that stop me contributing to the caucus? It did not, because I understand that organizations kind of ebb and flow, and these were people mostly of goodwill. But if you ask me now, is that still my assessment of the caucus? I would not say that. Now, I think probably mostly the people who get on the caucus are people of goodwill, but I don't really know that anymore. I don't, you know, after my own personal experience, I cannot stand up and say, this organization, which has served us for so long, is the right organization to continue in the job it's had.
I don't know. I couldn't zoom in that closely, but
Well-
they should have brought somebody over from the music room down the hall with a violin to play while she was giving her little soliloquy there.
But that guy didn't help them. In fact, they helped the caucus because they said the bylaws are screwed up. Right?
Everyone says the bylaws are screwed up, but we can't get to a point of getting, 60% to fix it, because these guys, I mean, they're even saying, look, people can't vote. It's only an hour of voting at Gorton. So can't we at least get an agreement that we should change the bylaws to allow remote voting, absentee voting, mail voting, whatever you want to call it, so you're not reliant on 1 hour? But if I was the transparency people, I would say no to that, because they clearly, that's they're the big fish in the little pond when it comes to Gorton, but they can't win a real election, at least yet.
Well, they are really looking for a legal way to support, what's the right word? Fraudulent activity. Give me another word there. Alleged, bling, bling, bling. They want to create their own political party. That way, just like the caucus
Go ahead.
is structured like a PAC, and, okay, whatever. And I think they're going to do that. And there's some big money guy. Did you get my note on that?
I didn't know. I didn't recognize the name.
But he's I don't know if he's a hedge fund guy or but I think that's where the money's coming from. That and Prue.
The name, you sent it to me here. Do you want me to say the name? I found it.
Say the name.
Liam Connell.
Yeah.
Hello, Liam.
Liam, I'm going to reach out to you, my friend.
Yeah, come on the show, Liam. Put your money where your mouth is, or put your mouth where your money is.
And
$500,000. He's going to drop $500,000.
Alleged.
My God. See, this is what's wrong, and we've talked about this before. The caucus prevents people from buying elections. Okay, you work through the system, and I'm sorry if you don't get picked, you don't get picked. Okay, all right. I was for Nikki Haley in the Republican thing, and she didn't get picked. Oh well, move on. So it's the same thing here. So I mean, they didn't pick Prue, and newsflash, they ain't going to pick Melanie. So,
who I didn't see at that show? The bylaws expert.
Oh yeah, maybe she was out of town. She was busy working on the bylaws. She couldn't make it. I don't know.
I mean, am I off base with if you go? If the whole problem that we have is that
cease and desist, Pete. Cease and desist.
Well, here,
I'm going to threaten you. I'm a lawyer. I'm going to threaten you.
Okay.
I was a lawyer for Governor Quinn.
Take a number. If the problem we're in now is because there's no resolution because of the vote went the wrong way, and the last time that door was cracked open to look at the bylaws, and you're not 100% responsible, but you're in a position of influence, which I would assume that as the president of the caucus at the time, that you might have want to looked at it as you're a bylaw expert that, oh, wow, if the vote goes against us, then what? Zoom. Am I factually correct? Can I say factually correct on that, or on my opinion on that?
Your opinion is definitely your opinion, and that's that.
Yeah.
She was when you're the president of the caucus, you have the bully pulpit of the presidency of the caucus to encourage the rest of the caucus to consider items, because you have the gravitas of making your way all the way up to being president, which means you've probably got a lot of allies in the caucus that would listen to you and be interested in what you have to say. And look no further than Chris Bennis's presidency of the caucus. He he stepped out in front on this and led. Okay, he didn't do it unilaterally. The president can't do it unilaterally, but he did lead. He went to the rest of the caucus and exercised leadership and said, guys, we got a problem. Let's do it. And he expended a lot of political capital, both for himself and probably the caucus, trying to pass that CPA, the Caucus Preservation Act. So, but give him credit that at least he tried. This was Sheila when she was president on the issue, apparently. I mean, I wasn't here, you were.
Well,
but she didn't do a thing. From what you're telling me.
Well, knowledge is power. Okay. And Sheila, again, all right, I asked you to come on to explain.
But I wouldn't.
But yeah, it's over. It's over.
I was going to say that was 3 years ago, Pete. Yeah. I'm far more interested in the next 3 years, the next 30 years.
I just want
for our city than what happened in 2021.
I want to.
But I see your point.
I want to recognize where the problem started.
Sure.
Okay. The
Noted.
problem's still there now because we have to get everybody together to vote. What do you do? A separate issue on this that says get rid of the vote? Because there wasn't a vote 7 years ago or 10 years ago, whatever it is, because it hasn't been around a while. And
this is a mess. I mean, this is just
and you know what?
Total mess. And you got to get to 60% to change the mess. And I don't think, I think we're at a stalemate where the transparency folks, they can't get 60%, and the caucus people can't get 60% to do anything. So we're just gonna be like Pavlov's dog. We're just gonna keep repeating the same thing here. And every time there's an election at Gorton, it's gonna be crazy. It's gonna be a you-know-what show, and that's bad for the city. It's going to discourage good people from running for office.
So,
and we're going to get to a point where the person with the biggest checkbook runs the city, and I don't think that's good government.
Half a mill's a good checkbook.
That blows away what Prue spent. Prue spent $200,000. If this guy's going to spend $500,000, my gosh. For a job that doesn't pay, I mean, pays $10, whatever, and to run the city. And like I said, what's wrong with the city? Okay, give me something that's wrong. And they even mocked the survey.
Chris Bennis has been saying quite a lot recently, and other members of the caucus, about the Lake Forest survey that went out that 6,000 families responded to. And in that survey, on the first page, it says 98% of the people who live in Lake Forest are very satisfied and happy living here. And then they drew a direct line from that statement to "you're welcome" from the caucus. And the fact is that in that exact same survey, which is just frightening to me, the exact same survey, and it's hard to read, but the top of the circled letter says confidence in Lake Forest city government, 24% to 40%. City council acting in the long-term best interest, 24 to 36%. That's the exact same survey that they're claiming 98% of the people were overwhelmingly satisfied with the caucus. It just seems like a diversion.
Oh, about
the city survey
government. You ask anybody about government if they're happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, look at the gridlock that's going on right now in Washington, D.C. Okay, do you want that here? Do you want that in Lake Forest? Do you want where it's a battle in Washington right now? It's a battle in Washington just to pay the bills. Okay, they have to keep fighting over these continuing resolutions for the government to continue to pay its bills. That's how gridlocked DC is. Do you want to bring that to Lake Forest? Do you want to make it where it's a battle just for the city to pay its bills? Because that's what's going to happen here if we go down this path. I don't want to see that.
You don't have to go to DC, dude. Just go to the south a couple miles in Highland Park. They're in gridlock. Talk about a mess.
Go further south. Look at Dalton. People are getting indicted there.
People don't care about Dalton. Highland Park, you know.
I'm just saying, you turn government into a political circus. Your services are going to suffer. Your quality employees are going to say, you know what? I came here because it was a nice politically stable place. Bye.
If you
Go
can't,
work somewhere else, and you're going to lose your quality people, and then you're just going to get political hacks in
I
these
think
jobs.
if you can't get more than 250 people off their ass to participate in this, then you have to do something to either educate the people. Would everybody agree that to make voting easier than 1 hour, and yeah, I know Chris let us come in early and stay late or whatever it is, but have some.
Allow the remote voting by mail for people like Lori, who was our guest the other day. She was out of town on business.
Yeah.
My son is away at college and he's a registered voter. People like that. Yeah, I think if you're going to make this vote so important, bring it away from the four walls of or how many walls there are at the Gorton Center for an hour or 2 hours. Make it where it's like a real election where you have different options. You have election day with 13 hours. You have vote by mail, you have early voting at City Hall, all those things, to where there's really no reason somebody misses those types of elections. There are very valid reasons for people to miss the election. People are away on business or school or whatever.
Well, they have a very good setup there at Gorton Center to broadcast, and I think they need to take more advantage of the broadcasting capabilities to share the. It's so hard to get people to even click on something, but here are your aldermen. Yes, there are video interviews, but it's almost like there should be something there that's like an event, a broadcast.
Like a city council meeting where you can watch it live in your house.
It's almost
with three people watching.
You know what they do? I don't know. Look, I've been out of the corporate world for a while, thank God. But
I can't see how you ever were in it, but
smoke and mirrors, I guess. But you got to do those courses to show that you have some type of capability with network security. You got to watch those crappy videos. There should be some type of video if you're going to get a permit or something, or a city sticker, that you got to at least watch that. Hey, this is this. If you're going to move to Lake Forest, at least
Well, they had stuff like that in the 60s, and you can't do that. Like citizenship tests and things. It was to keep certain groups of people, literacy tests.
I'm not saying literacy.
Groups of people from voting, and that was you can't do that.
Well. Watching a video, somebody talking to you saying, hey, this is how it's run. You want to move to, look, we had 2-3 years ago, we had 1,500 people move in or whatever it was. That's a whole lot of people. How many of those 1,500 people know about the caucus? So if you somehow, don't you think there's at least something in the mail? Like if you're going to move here to
the caucus they mail that ballot out with the people for your ward.
Yeah.
We've gotten that. That goes, I assume, to every household with registered voters. The caucus mails you don't have to be in newcomers club.
Yeah.
But if you are, the caucus comes and does a very nice presentation. Mayor George came to a newcomers meeting, and that was like my first introduction to anything here in Lake Forest, was meeting George Pandelian when he was the mayor. So, but yeah, you don't have to be a newcomers club.
Yeah.
That's not a requirement of any new resident, but though I'd urge everyone to. But
we're just spitballing here to try to get.
Yeah, no, I agree. Maybe a welcome way. Maybe you should take it. And I know the caucus volunteers are very busy. They have a lot on their plate, and they are volunteers with real lives going on the rest of the day. But maybe you have a committee or a group, and they divide it by wards or neighborhoods or even precincts. And when a house changes owners, they come over like a welcome wagon,
like the Jehovah's
and say,
Witness.
"Hey, we're and they welcome you and say, hi, we're with the Lake Forest Caucus here. Welcome to Lake Forest," and yada, yada, yada. So
that's when I was,
but that takes a lot of work, Pete. That's
not
time.
Really. Now with the technology,
You want to be the welcome. I don't think they want you to be the welcome.
You can automate. Hi. You can automate a lot of this stuff, and I think again, like you say, everybody's busy interviewing, but even if you got to pay a staff member, I think if they raise funds, have somebody that can stay on top of this stuff. When somebody moves in, like when I was on Ward 1, I had an email list that I sent out. Hey, I'm Pete. I'm your guy. You got an issue, let me know. And some people, and to this day, I'm still sending emails to them, about the podcast. So
How did you get those email addresses?
they're in the caucus
Oh, okay.
database. When you fill
But
out,
how did they get them?
they got them from the volunteer profile sheet.
Oh, so this is just the people that fill out the volunteer
Yeah.
profile. So this isn't any resident that moves in, they get their
The ones that are not in the VPS, I would go on LinkedIn and I'd send them a message, or Facebook. I would send them a message. Hey man,
Wow.
I'm your ward person and you're in Ward 1. You want to connect? Here I am. And some people did do that.
So I think there's something to consider, is some type of welcome wagon or welcome committee or something like that, because there are a lot of people moving in and they don't always know what's happening with this. And it's so important because I think you're getting a very small group of people now that is trying to
Build up
bully
their
their
resume.
well, they're trying to bully their way into city government because they're the loudest ones in the room. I was thinking back, remember when they had the vote on the Caucus Preservation Act, and the caucus had a meeting one day at Gordon and the transparency people had a meeting one day at Gordon.
Yeah.
And I recall, here was the difference between those two meetings. The caucus let Trkla and those other folks from the transparency group ask any question they want and whatever the case may be. But the caucus supporters didn't heckle them.
Yeah.
Okay. But you and me and some other folks that were clearly in support of the caucus, when any of us spoke up at the transparency meeting, got heckled.
Shut up, Pete.
One guy came up and almost physically threatened you, as I recall. So,
That's excellent.
and that's why I was like, when we sat in the back to record this for the podcast, I'm like, I'm not saying a word at this. This isn't my room. Because this would have turned into a shouting match and a pep rally for them. So there's the difference. These guys are bullying their way into city government. They shout down anybody that questions them.
It gets to people say,
how dare I question the transparency of this organization and how they're handling their money and that they're
isn't
not
that what Prue
disclosing
said
it.
at that meeting?
I think it comes down to, in the end, trust. For years, the caucus got used to being trusted. They sort of took that for granted, and if you didn't always trust them, you were an outlier. The fact that I ever had the umbrage to ask questions made me, that was something that I was very much encouraged never to do again. And I was offended by that. Did that stop me contributing to the caucus? It did not, because I understand that organizations kind of ebb and flow, and these were people mostly of goodwill. But if you ask me now, is that still my assessment of the caucus? I would not say that. Now, I think probably mostly the people who get on the caucus are people of goodwill, but I don't really know that anymore. I don't, after my own personal experience, I cannot stand up and say, this organization, which has served us for so long, is the right organization to continue in the job it's had.
She was riding that train for a long time, and then when it went against her, get
a violin here.
I don't think the caucus anymore. The anti-Lake Forest activists. So, but again, people say, well, why do you give him oxygen? Well, because they did a community meeting, and I'm in the community, and I want an experience for myself. And I did get the best 20 minutes of sleep of my life during that show.
When the attorney spoke. Yeah. I mean, look, I've worked with a lot of election attorneys over the years in my roles in politics, and mechanically everything he's saying is I think was correct. I would check with an attorney and find out, but
well, here,
but the fact that they're going to this extreme left-wing Democratic Party attorney, yet they're not partisan. Oh, wow. Okay. And Melanie Rummel was going to ask, this guy's the attorney that tried to remove Donald Trump from the ballot in Illinois. Okay. Now, my differences with Donald Trump are well documented on this podcast. That said, I never, ever thought it was a good idea to remove him from the ballot. Let the voters decide if they want him or not. And even Governor Pritzker said, let Trump stay on the ballot. Of course, he had a sinister motive, and that was they know that the Democrats are going to win a lot of elections with Trump on the ballot. But that said, my point is, Melanie, the story we're hearing out there is Melanie Rummel is going to run for mayor, and that Liz Uihlein is going to fund the campaign. Okay, well, I got news for you, Mrs. Uihlein. The lawyer for this campaign tried to get Donald Trump thrown off the ballot, and one of the top donors to Donald Trump in Illinois are Dick and Liz Uihlein.
Yeah.
So explain that, Miss Alderman Rummel, former Alderman Rummel. Who are you associating with? Don't come to any Republicans, whether it's the Uihleins or anybody else, and think you're gonna get bipartisan support. This is a Democratic Party takeover, plain and simple.
That's the story I'm getting. It's stop talking about the transparency people, and it's more about building up a foundation, however few people it is, that's going to try to push Melanie Rummel through. And what was she trying to turn back time?
You win a contract case. What sort of remedy would you request?
Request what's called specific performance, that the results of the election be binding, and that the caucus committee that was proposed, that they have to go back and do another vote.
If you go back to November, what does that do? Well,
I don't think you can do that at this point because of the time that's passed. You don't really have money damages or anything like that. So you want enforcement of the contract, and here the enforcement of the contract would be to say that the vote against the slate was valid, and that those people are not members of the caucus committee or executive committee, and that the bylaws are frankly silent on what happens then.
At that meeting.
Oh my gosh. She basically said, I mean, you can play the tape, but she basically said, can we go to court and have Randy Tack removed from office because his nomination by the caucus was a violation of the bylaws? That's basically what she said. She wants him. That's as crazy as some of the extreme Trump people who wanted Joe Biden removed from office because they felt his election was illegitimate in 2020. And all throughout 2021, they were all, oh, Trump is going to be sworn in on August 6th and whatever, and all this crap. That's as crazy as that. And even their lawyer said, nah, can't do it. He I think his eyes rolled when he answered it. Because but this is, again, like you had the lone guy in the audience comparing the caucus to Vladimir Putin. Okay. But this is the person that wants to be the mayor. And she's saying the current mayor should be removed from office immediately because his nomination violated the caucus bylaws. That's extreme.
Can we go back in November and get him through? And he said, no.
What's that Cher song? If I could turn back time, that's going to be her.
Oh my God. If ever made any real money on this show, I would use that. I mean, I would copyright it all over the place.
Cher's a big liberal, so she'd probably step in and tell you to stop using her song. But
yeah, but that's going to be our mayor. You got Melanie Rummel, and in the meantime, we
ban plastic containers.
Then you got Mayor Stanford Tack and his 11-minute meetings and his 90-day, boom, we got a police station and a great effing deal.
Taking care of business, just like he said when he was running. That's his theme song, taking care of business.
Yeah, yeah. So,
of course, then the transparency crowd will then say that he's taking care of the business community because he's development. They've made development a dirty word, which is nonsense. If these people were around 100 years ago, we wouldn't have Market Square.
Go to Highland Park. You think we got empty storefronts? You want to be California? You want to have everybody move, all the businesses get out of California? Now I think they're trying to get out of Delaware. What happened to Elon Musk and Tesla, where he got his pay cut. But I don't know. How do you think it's going to play out? So Melanie's running. We would put the odds of Melanie running at how about a percentage? 90 what?
9.99999%.
Okay. And she's
Prove
going
me wrong. Announced you're not running.
She knows. She's so sick of me. I waved at her. She didn't wave back. Neither did Prue. That's all right. So they're going to have, I don't know, allegedly, bing, 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 $500,000 from either Prue or whoever this Liam, what's his name?
Liam Connell.
Connell. Okay.
I'd rather have Liam Hendricks, former White Sox pitcher. He was a good guy. But he's an Australian citizen. He was good before the Sox went awful.
So it's going to be a money raise thing. And, speaking of money raise, what did you get out of that? Because I donated to the Lake Forest for Transparency Committee, Joe.
$1, right?
I gave him $1. Could you
follow the money?
What? Could you
it paid for like one of the slides in the show?
No, but I mean, what was there? Could you just kind of summarize what that email said?
All right. You can put it up on the screen.
I'll put it up on the screen when I edit it.
Where did I put it here? And I shared it with a couple of people in the know.
Yeah, what'd they say?
Well, I'll tell you in a minute, but it basically, I think this is damage control after I wrote my op-ed yesterday morning about the 501c3 status, because they're not filed.
Doesn't have to be a 4, not a 3. 501c4. I don't know. Anybody out there that knows, tell me and Trkla.
Well, in any event, they're saying 501c3. So if it's supposed to be C4, then shame on them. But like I said a couple of times here on the show, December 7th of last year, John Trkla said in their podcast, "We are a 501c3." You've got that tape.
Yeah.
And here we are, April 20th now, and no 501c3 on the website. And they're saying, "Oh, it's in the works, it's in the process." And until then, your donations are not tax deductible. Well, today is April 20th, Pete. What was 5 days ago for everyone?
Yeah,
income taxes. So how many people that donated to them thinking it was tax deductible took that tax donation and they shouldn't have? First of all, and I'm going to make the strong case to the IRS, like they're listening, that their donations should not be, that this is clearly a political organization, and they should not get to the status that allows anyone donating to them to make it tax deductible. Now, again, if the transparency group was truly transparent, they would show us, as the caucus does, who has donated and how that money has spent, because I would like to know who's funding this. Again, I go back to my premise that I think Prue or Frank Beidler are funding a lot of this. Prove
and
me
supposedly
wrong.
This other guy.
And one, are they taking a tax deduction? But two, if there was a mayoral election in 2023 and the transparency group was, you're not supposed to coordinate campaigns. Ask Darren Bailey and Dan Proft how that worked out. How can you have your top donor be the candidate? Prue Beidler. So again, I think that, what's that Elvis song? I'm caught in a trap and I can't walk back. They're caught in a trap here.
Well,
they have put themselves in a position where whatever happens from this, something is wrong. Either they're lying or they're being deceptive on it.
Yeah.
And without a doubt, they're not being transparent. Show
Well,
me the money.
Here's what I do know. To rent that room out, you get a reduced rate if you're a nonprofit.
Oh.
So they got a reduced rate.
Well, they filed
This
as a,
would
what
be-
they filed, what was the thing you sent me? It was at the Illinois Secretary of State Corporation. So they
you can
filed
go
as a
to-
nonprofit corporation. And by the way, what address did they use for their business address? Lake Bluff. So folks, Lake Forest for Transparency is headquartered in Lake Bluff.
That's not very transparent.
No. So and their podcast is recorded in Lake Bluff too. I've been told by a
God
very
bless them.
reliable
God
source.
bless them. But I think the energy now is we got to point towards the money that Melanie Rummel is going to be getting. Maybe it's not going to be this L42Q, whatever they call it. Because I think
LF4T.
okay.
I had to type it about 20 times when I wrote my op-ed the other night in the patch, which I hope everyone reads.
Well, it's right here.
But it's I've got it burned in my brain now. Hold on. I'm scarred. LF4T.
Okay.
There's no Q in it, and don't go there.
So do you think that they're going to build something else, a new political committee, and just run their own slate? And
Yeah, but there was all sorts of different opinions from the crowd of what to do. Some say they should run with the name caucus so that there's confusion. They want to confuse the voters, like we're the real
They're
caucus,
already
and that's the
confused.
fake caucus, and they're
the original caucus.
Because then the poor voter is going to go in and they're not going to know what the hell. I mean, it was like many years ago, the Republican Party ran Jim Durkin against Dick Durbin for Senate, and the idea that Jim Durkin's a good guy, but the idea was they openly said we know we can't win, so we're just gonna confuse everyone and think they're voting for Durbin when they vote for Durkin. But okay, whatever.
I am under the impression Lake Forest was built from people that got money from getting their hands dirty and building something themselves. And then it got passed on. I'm hoping that there's more people that have the dirty hands that don't. I think the clean hands are the ones giving the issue. The ones that have the dirty hands are fine, and we need more of them to come out. That's all. So, anything else we want to talk about, Joe? It's been a long week.
I mean, I think everyone should watch Melanie's
1 minute.
Q&A. You've
1 minute.
You've got it up.
You win a contract case, what sort of remedy would you request?
Request what's called specific performance, that the results of the election be binding, and that the caucus committee that was proposed, that they have to go back and do another vote.
If you go back to November, what does that do? Well,
I don't think you can do that at this point because of the time that's passed. You don't really have money damages or anything like that, so you want enforcement of the contract, and here the enforcement of the contract would be to say that the vote against the slate was valid and that those people are not members of the caucus committee or executive committee, and that the bylaws are frankly silent on what happens then.
There as a separate with YouTube and whatever.
It's just a short, and that's all.
I would urge everyone to watch that, and just your jaw drops when she asks towards the end, can
I
go
turn back time?
Can we go back and she basically wants to remove Randy as mayor. She wants, I mean, that's as crazy as people that wanted to remove Joe Biden from office. I mean, that's just, and then watch Prue's little
oh God.
She's clearly becoming very vindictive.
I think it comes down to, in the end, trust. For years, the caucus got used to being trusted. They sort of took that for granted, and if you didn't always trust them, you were an outlier. The fact that I ever had the umbrage to ask questions made me, that was something that I was very much encouraged never to do again. And I was offended by that. Did that stop me contributing to the caucus? It did not, because I understand that organizations kind of ebb and flow, and these were people mostly of goodwill. But if you ask me now, is that still my assessment of the caucus? I would not say that. Now, I think probably mostly the people who get on the caucus are people of goodwill, but I don't really know that anymore. I don't, after my own personal experience, I cannot stand up and say, this organization, which has served us for so long, is the right organization to continue in the job it's had.
All right.
Yeah.
Oh, I used to think the people in the caucus were good people, and now I'm
No, they're
not
not.
so sure. I mean, that's just crazy. And then, like I said, you got the guy comparing the caucus to Vladimir Putin.
Every citizen in Lake Forest is supposed to be a member of the caucus, or every, voter in Lake Forest. Since I don't want to be party to an organization that is basically following Putin's rules of order, how do I get out of becoming a member of the caucus?
I don't know.
Yeah, Ed, to his previous question, though.
Come on. I would have stopped the meeting right there and said, no, sir. You remember John McCain when he was running for president and some guy said Obama was a Muslim or something at his campaign rally, and McCain stopped him and said, no, sir, he's a good man and we just have differences. That's what Trkla should have done right then and there when that guy compared the caucus to Vladimir Putin, but he chose not to do so.
And Trkla, and props to you, brother. A little bit less gum chewing. I hope your condition is,
Chew all the gum you want, John. I don't care. Just don't ruin our city. I'll buy you a stick of gum if you stop.
like, can he volunteer for the caucus? Because he doesn't live in Lake Forest. Does he? I don't even know.
I think his office is in Lake Bluff. I think he does live in Lake Forest.
Okay, that's what it is.
Which begs the question, why didn't you just make the headquarters for the transparency group your house instead of your office? But okay, whatever. It's based in Lake Bluff.
And
Real
again,
good optics there.
John, another reach out to you, brother. If we're getting something wrong or you want to, make fun of me.
Well, it's amazing to me the violent reactions some of these people have to you. All right. I mean, I even said to one of them at one of these things, not this most recent one, I said, why the hell are you scared of a guy that's hosting a podcast? Why does he bring up so much anger in you? Come on his show and talk with him, because like I said, you've been reasonable to every guest that's ever been on this show. So come on and let's talk it out. But no, they're going to be in their silo and their echo chamber at Gorton Center.
But that's what the liberals do, isn't it? Like the far left. When I say liberals, I mean far left. You got
there's people on the far right that do the same thing.
Yeah, same thing.
But the caucus is not far right. Now they want you to think we're all a bunch of MAGA people. One person even said that this podcast is MAGA, which is laughable when she wrote that on social media. I'm like, here I am. I worked for Judy Bartha Pinkin. I ran as a Nikki Haley delegate, and I'm MAGA. Come on, that shows you how out of touch you are. But
you got to pick one of the two jockeys, and one of them keeps falling off the horse. I'll keep the one that can ride the horse.
They are so angry at a guy that's just hosting a podcast is beyond me. Come on and talk. We'll talk it out. Let's hear your side, because if you got a side, it's not coming through very well.
They can't. And I think they're trying to be politicians, and I don't know if they're doing a good job or not.
Well, all this is bitter tears over not getting picked. And you got a few people at these meetings that are upset about little issues. Like I said, some guy brought up the Burger King and the McDonald's being allowed in Lake Forest.
Yeah.
Those are long gone. Long gone. And even if they were still here, who cares?
So,
I mean, seriously, did Lake Forest fall to pieces when we allowed a McDonald's on Waukegan Road? Come on.
we need somebody else to come on here and give, like whatever those people, the people that feel like an injustice has been done. We need somebody from over there to come on and have a conversation of why, what is your basis? Because I can sum it up in 1 minute. When Melanie Rummel got shut down by their own guest.
You win a contract case. What sort of remedy would you request?
request what's called specific performance, that the results of the election be binding, and that the caucus committee that was proposed, that they have to go back and do another vote.
If you go back to November, what does that do? Well,
I don't think you can do that at this point because of the time that's passed. You don't really have money damages or anything like that, so you want enforcement of the contract, and here the enforcement of the contract would be to say that the vote against the slate was valid, and that those people are not members of the caucus committee or executive committee, and that, you know, the bylaws are frankly silent on what happens then.
The Bernie bro.
He's like, no. Can we go back to November? No.
Wah, wah, wah.
Oh my
Scary.
God.
But every voter in Lake Forest should watch that video of her and then decide, is this who you really want to be your mayor?
So that's kind of where they're setting the stage. We're setting the stage. So Melanie Rummel running for mayor, building up cash. It's got to have some kind of vessel to get it through there. So if it's not Lake42.com, then it's going to be something else. And they're going to start slamming Randy about what? His meetings are too short. His deals are too good. He's boring.
We got such a great deal on the police station compared to Lake in the Hills.
I don't know. We should go over that building.
On Field Court?
Yeah, they're going to check it out. Why don't we? Maybe I'll put a competing bid.
You're not going to see anything there other than just an empty office building, but
you know what those so-and-sos would probably do is try to bid it up.
you're not spending enough. No, they probably don't want a new police station at all because
Defund the police.
Well, and if you look through the Facebook of this guy that's their lawyer, what's his name now? I forgot it off the top of my head.
Mullen. Mullen.
Whatever his name
Eddie Mullen.
Ed Mullen. He has, I'll send it to you, Pete. You can put it up there. A very anti-cop meme posted back when the whole defund the police thing was going. So
how's that go in New York?
This is clearly,
look,
he's an attorney and he has a right to be an attorney and he has a right to have whatever political views he has and everything. But people in Lake Forest should take some pause, knowing that this is their attorney that they've chosen to have, he's not just a Democrat. I have no, like I said, there's plenty of Democrats in the caucus, like Eric Ashkarian, but
he's an active Democrat.
He's a left-wing, anti-cop Democrat, and he is the attorney for both Eric Reinhardt and Kim Foxx and Brandon Johnson. Okay, his Facebook page, because he lives in Rogers Park, he doesn't live anywhere near Lake Forest. He lives
he told us
Chicago,
that, the 48th Ward.
49th Ward. But yeah,
give or take.
He they're all bad except for 41. But he clearly has a left-wing agenda, whether it's Bernie Sanders for president, Kim Foxx for state's attorney, Eric Reinhardt, soft on crime Reinhardt.
Did Prue give him any money? They gave him
Brandon
money.
Johnson. No, Prue. I couldn't find any expenditures by Prue Beidler to Ed Mullen. I looked for that,
except for this meeting where
and I did the whole list, Pete.
Yeah.
And in my article in the patch, one of the many hyperlinks, it's in there, and it actually is. I forgot the tiny URL I created.
Speaking of tiny URLs, Jonah Meadows, he's another one of those.
Hey, Jonah printed my article, man. So what can I say?
No, he didn't. Did he say, you didn't write that?
Well, we can't say that because I did write it. I didn't use Chat GPT or any of that crap. I write my own
stuff. You can't use that.
I don't use it.
Patch dead.
I did one thing once on Chat GPT, and whatever the finished product was didn't sound anything like me, and I'm like, I like my original version better.
That's why it's called machine learning, brother. It's still learning.
I got 55 years of learning behind me, so I'll take my writing, but that's fine, whatever.
Anybody that says that they're an expert, run away. Run.
I'm a bylaws expert, and I worked for Pat Quinn.
I wonder if they took down her stuff. Because that is a pretty interesting thing where you're built up there. Is it fair to call them activists?
Yeah, I guess. Community organizers like President Obama was back in the day.
What is a community organizer? Isn't that what the caucus is?
I mean, look, you could argue that I am, right? Because I'm involved in politics. I'm an activist. Okay. I'm active being supportive of the caucus. So activist is not necessarily it depends on what you're activating, trying to get done. I mean, if you're trying to do common sense stuff like support the police and keep taxes low, then more power to you. But if
I'm an activist of
have this crazy left-wing agenda masquerading as bipartisan or independent, no thanks.
I like to think we're activists of positive energy to move something forward for the better, the greater good, and go to the definition for the greater good, and it's going to be different for what we think and what
they haven't posted anything. Okay, they haven't posted anything on Facebook. Let's see their regular webpage here.
Well, they're strategizing with Digital for Dems to what's the next
I would ask for a refund on that one if that's Lake Forest for transparency. Oh wait, it came to Lake Forest podcast.
Wait, what?
You son of a gun. Is that why they went to the LF4T?
I don't know.
I can't get it when I type Lake Forest transparency.
Yeah,
and then the city has a transparency website of their own, which is very transparent. Every penny the city of Lake Forest spends, Elizabeth Hollow does a great job as a finance director. They're disclosing all that. So
while you're tearing down
I guess I got to Google LF4T.
while you're looking at your crotch.
Can't find it. I can't find it. Okay, here it is. Established bylaws matter. It's the same. They haven't updated it since the meeting, at least as of right now when we were recording this on Friday morning. They're a little slow on the website stuff.
The one websites I think are dead.
Trkla time. Or what about social media? You'd think they'd have a post. Hey, thanks for coming to our session the other night. Here, if you missed it, here's the video of it. Oh, no. They probably don't want anyone seeing that video.
If we didn't post that, do you think it would ever have been shown?
Well, they certainly would have edited out Melanie Rummel's question. That's for
You win a contract case. What sort of remedy would you
Request what's called specific performance, that the results of the election be binding, and that the caucus committee that was proposed, that they have to go back and do another vote.
If you go back to November, what does that do? Well,
I don't think you can do that at this point because of the time that's passed. You don't really have money damages or anything like that, so you want enforcement of the contract, and here the enforcement of the contract would be to say that the vote against the slate was valid and that those people are not members of the caucus committee or executive committee, and that the bylaws are frankly silent on what happens then.
sure.
Or Prue. But one of the board members was there who was standing right behind us, running out of juice to run the camera. Karras.
The one, did she use her cell phone?
But
I used my cell phone to record the meeting. Did she use her wait, she has a cell phone? Because when there was a deposition for her cell phone when she was an alderman, she said she lost her cell phone.
Where I'm going with it is, isn't she Lake Forest Love?
She started it. The city
mean,
owns it
she's
now,
still-
I think.
Okay.
No, the city took.
I
But she was, look, and I don't want to get into all of it, but I've heard that when she was an alderman and doing all that, she was trying to basically go around the city staff and have her own little fiefdom. She wanted to hire a PR firm supposedly and all this stuff. So,
is this an alleged?
and that alleged, yes, put the alleged on. And that was Melanie Rummel with the environmental sustainability stuff and all that. I'm telling you, if they ever got control of city government, you'd see a lot of very good professional staff at City Hall and at the city building going elsewhere.
Well, businessmen aren't going to put
you
up
know,
with that crap.
No, and you know, look, should council members and elected officials be involved in how the city is run or whatever government they're running for? Yes, absolutely. But should they micromanage stuff to the point that I think those two were when they were on the council? No.
How can she micromanage? She didn't have enough time to do the job.
Well,
Wait.
I think they shut her down, realizing, hey, no, we have a PR person, let her do her job. And they, Melanie, I mean, you saw her final meeting there with that environmental sustainability presentation.
Joe, I can't wait till we talk about something else. Maybe we'll have, you know, we got to talk about it because it happened this week, and
this is timely, and I think people there needs to be transparency about the transparency group because they're not being very transparent. They're masquerading as some good government organization. They're clearly not. They clearly have an agenda based on who they're hiring as an attorney and who most of the people that are involved. And it's axes to grind about little petty stuff. There's not yet been presented, in my opinion, a citywide issue that merits them being considered.
Chris Bennis has been saying quite a lot recently, and other members of the caucus, about the Lake Forest survey that went out that 6,000 families responded to. And in that survey, on the first page, it says 98% of the people who live in Lake Forest are very satisfied and happy living here. And then they drew a direct line from that statement to "you're welcome" from the caucus. And the fact is that in that exact same survey, which is just frightening to me, the exact same survey, and it's hard to read, but the top of the circled letter says confidence in Lake Forest city government, 24% to 40%. City council acting in the long-term best interest, 24 and 36%. That's the exact same survey that they're claiming 98% of the people were overwhelmingly satisfied with the caucus. It just seems like a diversion.
The city's being run great. They know it. And they even mocked, like, well, caucus is taking credit for the city running well. Well, yeah, because the caucus hired the caucus alderman hired Jason Witcha, who then hires the staff, the caucus should take credit for that because it is doing well. It did do a good job. They didn't politicize it like some other cities do with their hirings.
Okay, why care? Because eventually this is going to cost us money somewhere. And you know what? We can take the ownership of, I believe we had in our power to turn around that $1,000 real estate tax bill.
For the for the high school district. Yeah, I agree.
And we made our peace with Matt. I get it. And he was hired to do a job and he did it. And we both said our piece. But I do feel that we could have.
Tax bill's coming soon, I hear.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know. I'm like, geez. So I do think we have the influence and the power and not the authority to make positive change, to get positive outcomes. Positive outcome to me is an extra grand in my pocket. And I think if you have Melanie Rummel and Prue's money and whoever that other guy is, allegedly, that you're gonna divide the town even more. And I don't think nobody's gonna go on either side. It's almost like politics. It's either you believe this side or that side. And I think I think we do a good job of just saying how it is as our opinions and as how we see it. And if there's any,
and you are not a rubber stamp for the caucus. I mean, you've been critical of the caucus on several things. So you call them as you see them. You're like an umpire calling balls and strikes, right?
That's right. And I look like an umpire. See,
there you go. That's why you've got that. You just need the face. Get a face mask, please, for the rest of us. But
for my wife.
But they have to. I mean, and they should come on. I mean, you've been very.
You know what?
If
they would come on, I'd blow them shit. And the way I blow them shit is, hey man, explain to me, why would you have Melanie? Wouldn't you want to make sure you knew what Melanie was going to ask? Because
I don't know if she knew what she was going to ask, to be honest with you. But yeah.
I mean, killed, done. That was the best thing. Melanie Rummel helped the caucus.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Bushman.
Oh,
Bush League.
Preue Bushman, I'm originally from the 4th Ward, been an alderman in the 4th Ward, and now in the 3rd Ward. First, a point of clarification. Our caucus operates in 2 different ways. One is for the elected officials, and that's what's been the subject here, and the right of the citizens to be able to vote for who they're recommending. And I'd like to cover that later, but the other question was asked, and was a HR function and a reference to employment law. What we have with the boards and commissions, these are all voluntary positions. They're viewed as a voluntary position, not as an employment status with the city, and how they're selected and whether they, operate under the Civil Rights Act is a whole separate question. I'd like to recognize that they're all volunteers for boards and commissions, paid nothing and handled through the caucus. The issue we have before us now is the elected side of the equation, particularly mayor and aldermen. And the fact that the caucus was created under the concept of the old caucus concept, that it's the people we want to hear from, the people who are going to control where we go. Now, you gave a definition of a PAC, and from the state standpoint, it's whatever the president and the treasurer says. That's not what we've been told. That's not what we've understood. It's always been, this is every one of us as a citizen, as a voting citizen, are members. We want to hear from the members. And if you read the bylaws and you point out the provision that to me clearly said they have a recommending part of the role of who's going to be slated, and we, the citizens, have an election role to play. That is to be elected, both the candidates that are going to be on the caucus and the candidates that are going to be on the ballot. I never saw advisory in there, anything other than it's a recommendation by the committee and a vote by the membership. And it really bore out after that first vote for Randy Tack, where they weren't sure how to handle it. Their solution was, the caucus committee solution was to come back with a misnomer calling the Preservation Act really was to take away the vote. They clearly came back to the citizens and asked us to approve a bylaw amendment, taking out the right to vote for their candidates and the right to vote even for the officers, the very issue here. And they needed a 2/3 vote under the bylaws. They did not even get a majority vote. So you have a course of conduct there that their own admission was, if they're not going to honor the vote, they have to change the bylaw. And they did not succeed in that. And that gets to the point of, the fact that we've been sold, a bill of goods, that the members, the citizens of Lake Forest have a say in the caucus. And let me bring to the next point. You talk about the tax, and unfortunately we've heard a little bit more than we ever knew about tax on the federal side, and money going for legal fees and things like that, and the super PACs and this. Do we have a PAC structure like we have here that they create a bylaw? And they say, this is how we're going to operate our PAC. We're going to have these officers, we're going to have these committees, we're going to have broken down by 4 wards, 9 people in each, and we're going to have votes by the citizens. I take from what you said earlier that that's not recognized as part of a PAC, or is it?
It's complicated.
Who, in the words of my predecessor on this podcast, I believe he said on one of the podcasts back in the day that he was the worst alderman in the history of Lake Forest, or one of the worst.
Are you going to say
back and find
allegedly he
that
said
tape.
that, or he said
He
this?
did say it. I remember it. I was one of the first when I started watching the podcast to know what was going on. You guys were talking one day.
You
And
don't want to get
he
that
said,
little feller upset.
He said, I don't want. No, I like him. So it's true though. I don't think he'd walk that back. But
No, Skoo's he calls balls and strikes too, and
yeah, no, he's
he's also been around.
He was critical of Bushman back when he was on the show, and
Melanie.
Well, of course, the Rummels think it's because Mike Rummel kicked him off the golf course 20 years ago or something. Well, first of all, how does a mayor kick somebody off a golf course? And
is that true or alleged?
Well, it was in that when you FOIA'd all those emails, and Melanie was using her city council email to email people, which again, that's FOIA 101. She wrote in one of those emails. She wrote in one of those emails that Skoo is just mad because Mike, when Mike was the mayor, he kicked him off the golf.
Sure. That's the only way you'd get me on a golf course.
Did you watch I was going to say, did you watch the movie Caddyshack? But what the hell, if that's true, what the hell is a mayor doing? Kicking? Can you see Randy Tack going around on the Deer Path golf course saying, "Excuse me, you're a little too sauce. You need to leave."
Do you know who I am?
Or George? Could you see Mayor George Van Lakes? Anyway, you need to leave.
George, we love you, buddy.
George would be like, "What are you drinking? I'll have some."
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Join him in a heartbeat. All right, Joe. I think this is one dead ass horse.
So's the transparency group, I hope.
Oh, the views expressed here are clearly our own and do not represent the on-air sign behind me or the bass guitar behind me
Or the cowboy hat on the couch, on the velvet couch.
Here, I'll leave it with this. You know what? If you're in Texas and you had Lake Forest for Transparency in Texas, they'd say they're all hat and no cattle.
I keep saying, like Clara Peller in the Wendy's ad, where's the beef?
All right. Invitation once again to the people on the left. You're always welcome to the Lake Forest Podcast. Joe Weiss, riveting show. Riveting.
Have a good weekend.
Smell you much later. All right, dude, later.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for.
We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, and J.M.